Well, we have information security experts embedded in every agency, and they are part of the Chief Information Security Officer's team. And they are experts in the particular challenges of that agency, whether it be HIPAA, whether it be federal law related to tax, and so on and so forth, so that we have experts embedded in each team. And we are working with every agency to educate them in the risks of cybersecurity, and to undertake steps such as classification of their data, to make sure that every agency head understands the vulnerabilities of their data and what needs to be protected when.
I guess what I'm doubly concerned about the fact we're relying on each agency, which primarily has had a workforce that has not been exposed to cyber attacks, are not expert in those fields, yet you're indicating there the centerpiece of reliance on protecting this data, and what type of real-world experience, particularly from the private sector, is being brought into the public sector to provide the real life experience. I mean, government, thank God, has not been recipient of major attacks yet at the state level. Although you're indicating that the breaches are pretty uniform and broad-based, or the attacks, not breaches. Right. The attacks are broad-based. What I'm just trying to probe, and this is what the subject of Senator Croce's hearing was about last year, that you couldn't attend. But this is the kind of thing that we're trying to probe. What type of protections are being provided to New Yorkers, that their data is being held in a secure way with the most appropriate cyber protections available?
So let me clarify. Cybersecurity is a centralized function within ITS. It's not devolved to the agencies, although we have representatives of the cyber team embedded with each agency to make sure that we're mindful of any particular requirements in each agency. It's a very highly skilled, very specialized team, and we do rely on third-party experts wherever we deem it necessary. So, as I said before, we remain paranoid rather than complacent, and at every occasion we ask ourselves, do we have the expertise in-house for a particular aspect of cybersecurity, or do we need to rely on a third party? And in fact, as part of the arrangement with the multi-state ISAC and the Center for Internet Security, we have access to external experts through those relationships.
This is a subject that I believe the Senate should probe further, and that we definitely will be back to you. We appreciate your discussions today in this budgetary context. You have a very important responsibility, and we need to make sure that you have the resources available to you to conduct that protection of our data, particularly in light of the rest of the world and what's happening out there. So thank you very much for your time and your answering our questions.
Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Our next speaker is Senator Krueger.
Afternoon, or close to evening. Many of us sat through a double hearing yesterday, and one of the hearings was on workforce development for the state, and there was testimony that in the last 2 years, your department lost 6% of your state workforce, but you've increased the number of consultants by 5 times, from 164 to 849. So you just testified about the expectation of significant retirement. So I'm just curious, even as you're seeing some shrinkage already in the workforce, how can you explain such a radical growth in the number of consultants in your department?
It's a challenge, and as I just said, we can hire at the entry level very aggressively, which we are doing, but we don't just need skill, we need experience as well as skill. And of course, what we're losing is experience. So that's a huge challenge for us. And we had hoped in this budget cycle to repeat the insourcing initiative, whereby some years ago we were allowed to actually hire a large number of those contractors as state staff and bring them into the workforce, bring them into the union workforce. And that would provide an injection of expertise, experience and skill to plug the gap and reduce the spend on contractors. We're very much hoping to do that. Unfortunately, our local PEF colleagues weren't prepared to work with us on that, but we're very optimistic that the senior PEF leadership will work with us on that in the future. That seems to be the most obvious and most the quickest way of plugging that gap. Otherwise, I'm open to suggestions as to how to fill that gap. It's given the restrictions we work within, it's very difficult.
So I'm a little confused. So what prevents you from hiring new, more senior people? You said you can only hire junior people. Is there some rule that prevents you from hiring?
Yeah. Under civil service law, we can only hire at entry level from the external world.
Only an entry level. Okay. And do you agree with PEF's analysis that the cost for consultants is significantly higher per person than state employees?
I do.
You do.
That's why we would very much like to turn some of those consultants into state employees. We'd love to.
Certain agencies are desperately in need of modernization for their technology and computerization. The Department of Housing and Development, HCR, excuse me,
Yes.
I'm getting my letters confused. Housing and Community Development, thank you, has literally, I'm not even going to say it's computers, it may be ancient docs computers, but in a number of its divisions, just huge piles of paper records. Yes. They were promised to somehow be on a priority list of computerization, I think, when Governor Cuomo first got in. Can you update me at all about where computerization of that agency is?
Yes, certainly. That particular initiative is something I've been personally involved in over the last year. There's been certain delays, but what I would say is that the RFP for that work is just about ready to issue, and we look forward to implementing a 21st century system for them as soon as we practically can.
Can you give me an estimated time?
I don't want to do that quite yet until we have the responses from the RFP. But
and you've only been here 2 years, or something.
A year and a bit.
Okay, a year and a bit.
A year and 2 months, I think.
So it was my understanding they were like in this top list of priority agencies. Are there other agencies that are also in queue and haven't gotten to even the RFP process yet?
Well, we've just been through a very rigorous process of prioritizing initiatives in the budget for the new year. So we asked every agency to put forward their proposals for the projects that they wanted to pursue in the new year and for them to choose what was most important. And we're about to publish, I think maybe next week, the final list of projects that have been requested by the agencies and that DOB have verified there is funding for. So it really is entirely up to the agencies what they prioritize.
We passed a law, often just nicknamed the SAFE Act, that required the state to develop a database for ammunition. Mm-hmm. What's the process and what stage are you at preparing a request for software development for this database, or do we already have that done?
Well, the budget was provided, as you know, in 13-14. And there was some 27 million in capital funds, I think, at that point for the SAFE Act. We've spent 9.3 million already, and we're ready with the pistol permitting process. That is pretty much ready to be rolled out because, as you know, we need to begin that process in January 2017. So we're confident that that piece of the program will be rolled out in time so that we don't end up with a huge workload for the county clerks. The ammunition sales database that's something that's been a little problematic. We've been doing a great deal of research on that, and we've offered Superintendent D'Amico 3 different solutions, but unfortunately to date we haven't come up with a solution that is acceptable to him, either for cost or usability reasons. So we're continuing to research to see if we can find a solution that's acceptable to state police.
So you believe you came up with 3 alternatives to model that database, but the state police have not approved any of the 3?
Not to date, as I say, either for cost or usability reasons. So we'll keep working on it until we can find something that they believe is workable.
Do you know what the current obstacles are that we still cannot overcome?
Not in detail, I'm afraid. Not in detail.
And was your office involved in the iStop technology? The iStop, I-stop, that was for opioid prescription tracking?
No, sorry. No.
Okay, so questions about that aren't relevant for your office. Thank you.
Thank you.
Senator Croce.
Thank you, Madam Chair. One additional question, ma'am. You said 1,200 contract staff. What's the total cost?
It's approximately $245 million a year.
$245 million. And these are individuals who have to have specialized skill sets, and I'm assuming some sort of a thorough vetting process before they're given access to sensitive information and procedures.
Indeed, yes.
What kind of vetting goes on for these individuals? Does the contract agent, are they required to provide employees who are properly vetted, or is there additional vetting done by your agency?
We apply the same vetting as we do to our permanent staff, including fingerprinting.
And 1,200, is it one agency that's providing these individuals, or is it multiple companies?
No, it's a range. A great many of them are HBITS staff and sourced from minority and women-owned businesses.
Okay, and with regard to that, since you raised it, OGS has a conflict with your data on veteran service-disabled veteran-owned businesses.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear.
OGS, who did a report on the minority, women, and disabled-owned businesses, there's a disparity in their accounting of your agency's compliance with service-disabled veteran set aside. So I'd ask for, at some point, for you to get that information back to us, just to ensure that there's not a disparity.
Yeah.
And with regard to your staffing issues, the great expertise that's been developed over the years started in the Department of Defense, I believe, certainly within the services. And there are a lot of veterans who have this skill set and are eager to be employed. So perhaps that's a potential answer for us that would satisfy Senator Kruger's desire to bring some of this in-house and certainly our desire to hire veterans in New York.
I'm glad you raised that, sir. There is a particular initiative that I'm associated with out of Columbia University called Workforce Opportunity Services that actually looks to specifically train veterans with IT skills and place them with employers. We are actively looking at making use of that initiative if we can find the right procurement vehicle.
Well, I'm happy to be of assistance in any way.
Thank you,
ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other legislator want to ask questions? Okay.
Thank you. I believe that you made a statement a little while ago saying that there was over $27 million allocated in the 2013-14 budget specifically for the SAFE Act. That was capital. That is not a true statement. There was no lining out in the state budget regarding those funds. So I just want to point that out because that was not a correct statement, number one.
I apologize.
Number two, you said that you've actually used $9 million toward the ammunition database, and when was that?
Not for the ammunition database, no. This is for the pistol research part of the work. We have not yet spent money on the ammunition database.
You have not spent money on the ammunition database?
That's correct. No.
And you're aware of the MOU that's in place?
I'm sorry?
You're aware of the memorandum of understanding that's in place right now, not to develop the database?
I am indeed. As I testified earlier, we have done research, but that's all we've done with regard to the ammunition database.
Thank you. And that concludes the testimony, so thank you for being here.
Thank you.
So this is where we're at, just to let the speakers know. We have 26 speakers in the queue now. A few of those are multi-person panels, and the time is late. Obviously, it's 5:30. We had 5 state agencies on public protection testify today. The judiciary testified today. And so I just want to ask the speakers, if you have written testimony and it's lengthy, we would prefer that you did not read the whole thing. And if you could try to come down and hit the most salient points, maybe do your presentation in 5 minutes, and then just so we could get all the speakers in before midnight. And then based from that, I'm sure that our members may have questions or may not. So let's start this portion of the hearing. And first we have Bill Leahy, Director of the New York State Office of Indigent Legal Services. And if speakers would like to prefer to submit their testimony, they may do that also if they don't want to stay. Following Mr. Leahy, Director Leahy, we will have the Administrator of New York City Commission on Judicial Conduct. Welcome, Director.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman, and congratulations on your position, even though at this hour you might be regretting it. But, greetings to all the senators and assembly members who are here. Let me begin, and I will try to address the salient points. I'm here to talk about the current situation with respect to the provision of counsel in the state of New York pursuant to County Law 18B. And I come here at a time when we are just a couple of weeks away from the 5th anniversary of the creation of my office, the Office of Indigent Legal Services. And before the legislative session is over, we will have hit the 10th anniversary of the Kay Commission report. And for those of you who don't remember, that Kay Commission report in 2006 described the state of the provision of counsel for people who cannot afford to retain counsel in the state of New York as a fragmented system of county-operated and largely county-financed indigent defense services that fails to satisfy the state's constitutional and statutory obligations to protect the rights of the indigent accused. Quite a serious indictment of the state of New York's compliance with one of its basic governmental responsibilities. Partly as a result of that Kay Commission report, my agency was created, and I came in as director. As I mentioned earlier, it's 5 years that we've been here. I happen to have a 5-year term, which is also shortly to expire, thanks to the unanimous recommendation of my board, one of whose members, Senator John Dunn, is here today, and thanks to the cooperation of Governor Cuomo, I am happy to say that I am embarking on a new 5-year term in about 3 weeks, and I'm glad I can because there's an awful lot of work yet to be done. We've made some great strides. We've made it with the cooperation of this legislature. We're very grateful to you. Let me tell you where we are today in the wake of the executive budget. A year after the Kay Commission report was filed, the New York Civil Liberties Union filed the Harrell Haring lawsuit that has been referenced a few times by earlier speakers today and by members. That lawsuit came to a negotiated settlement in October 2014 between the state of New York, 5 counties of Ontario, Onondaga, Schuyler, Suffolk, and Washington, and my agency was chosen as the implementing agency. So that happened in October 2014, and what I said at that time were 2 things that are still very important today. One, the state of New York, the governor, and deserved an enormous amount of credit for acknowledging for the very first time since County Law 18B was enacted in 1965 that it is the state's responsibility, not an individual county's responsibility, to make sure that the Constitution and the laws are complied with, and to make sure, to cite one of my favorite quotes from one of my favorite attorneys general of the nation, Janet Reno, the best protection against wrongful convictions is the presence of a good lawyer. And so at that time, the 2 things I said were, one, that the governor was right to acknowledge that it is the state's responsibility. He was right to vest the implementation in an independent professional agency that, just as the superintendent of state police who testified so impressively, knows what it's about, knows what it is doing, knows how to make things right. And then the second thing, of course, was I pointed out there's one big problem, and I wasn't the only one who pointed it out. Mark Williams, the Cattaraugus County Public Defender and the president-elect of the Chief Defenders Association of New York, you'll be hearing from him, I hope, shortly. He said it at the time as well, that it's just simply unfair that 5 counties receive the benefits of appropriate representation, state-funded representation, and all the rest of the upstate counties do not. Of course, New York City, 2009, this legislature acted to reduce caseloads with ample state funding that goes to New York City now to the tune of about $55 million a year. So, flash forward now to the executive budget. First, I want to say the implementation in those 5 counties, because there were skeptics who said, well, yeah, the governor entered into this settlement, but are he and his people really going to support it? Are they really going to comply with its provisions? Are they really going to fund it? Yes, yes, and yes. The governor has cooperated at every step. His first assistant legal counsel, Sandy Toll, has shepherded and honored our independent implementation. She and his office have supported us at every turn. So there are no worries on that score, and I want to be clear about that. The second thing is I want to congratulate and thank the governor with respect to the Harrell Haring portion of the executive budget, because we have been given all the tools, all the staff, all the funding that we need to implement that settlement effectively. That's a big deal, because for once, New York is going to get it right with respect to indigent defense. And that's big news. Now, the other big news is the tale of 2 cities, or the tale of 2 counties, or the tale of 2 states, however you want to characterize it. I put in my written testimony, you know, Clinton in the Northeast, and Chautauqua in the Southwest, and Niagara in the Northwest, and all of that. But really the best way to graphically illustrate it, I think, is just to take the 2 counties on Long Island, the 2 most populous counties in the state outside of New York City. Suffolk, they both have huge needs. They've both made great efforts as counties. They have both partnered with us over 5 years very effectively, but with minimal funding. Now, Suffolk will get a big chunk of the $10.4 million in this executive budget, should you approve it, and I urge you to approve it, to reduce caseloads to appropriate levels, New York City type levels. Nassau County, under fiscal control, doing its best, working hard, with the terrific public defender, Kent Mostyn, one of the smartest, wisest, best public defenders in the state. They're left behind. So, and if you want to take another look, go a little more traditional upstate, you'd go to the two cities of Syracuse and Rochester. Very similar cities. They have their struggles. They're trying hard. Syracuse is getting very significant assistance under this settlement. We've had terrific cooperation from the county attorney's office in Syracuse. I'm going to be going out to see Bob Durr, the new county attorney, next week to continue the path forward. And then you have Rochester. Rochester has another great public defender, Tim Donaher. They've had terrific county leadership. What they don't have is state funding. And so the city court caseloads are wildly in excess of any rational maximum in the city of Rochester. And on the appellate side, and they have a great appellate unit, this is a 3-year delay before someone gets his or her right to appeal. And they're sitting in prison or jail. So what can be done? Well, we have $34 million that we requested in our budget request, and the final 2 pages of our handout tells the whole story as far as the numbers are concerned. 1 page is our request, $139.26 million. The second page is the executive budget. And yes, there's an over $12 million increase. It's big. We're very grateful for it. It's the biggest increase we've ever seen. It pales in comparison to a lot of the numbers that have been thrown around here earlier today, but it's a big number to us, and we're deeply grateful to the governor for it. The problem is New York cannot tolerate, Senator DeFrancisco said this recently better than I ever could. He said, who could be against this idea that there should be one standard of justice in the state? There can't be two. And right now, that's what we have. So we're coming to you, and we're asking you to do what we tried unsuccessfully to get the executive to do, which is to provide significant funding in the legislative budget for the non-Harrell Haring counties. For what reasons? Primarily 2. Start to reduce the caseloads, number 1, and number 2, eliminate this intolerable lack of compliance with the most fundamental legal obligation to have a lawyer at a defendant's side when that magistrate or a judge is considering whether to leave the person at liberty or put them into pretrial detention. That is just intolerable. At the Court of Appeals, it's been 6 years since the Court of Appeals has said so, and the fact that we still have large swaths of upstate in which there is no counsel at arraignment is just should not be tolerated a minute longer. That's probably a little more than you wanted, but I'm open for questions. I've got one.
Okay, thank you. The Assembly?
We will hear from Member Lenthal.